This conference will now.
Using this a little bit early. Okay. So, let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. Sydney is virtual today. Can you hear us, Sydney? She's muted at the moment. But...
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So we have an agenda in front of us. If there's any corrections, I'd like to know that. Otherwise, I'll accept the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Brian makes the motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approved minutes of the August 15th, 16th, and 17th meeting and the claims. I'll accept a motion to approve all of that.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the 15th, 16th, 17th meetings and claims.
Mayor makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Todd.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye. Motion carries. County Attorney General discussion.
Don't have that much particular to talk about. I sent an email yesterday, kind of things I'm in the near term that I want to get done. Some things kind of fell by the wayside, so not saying those are the only things I'm working on. I've always got other stuff going on, but private practice and county stuff. But anyway, those are kind of the three things I wanted to knock out in the near term. One thing I guess I'll ask Rachel is, that ordinance for that tip. I mean, maybe you guys don't need anything. Do you need anything from me?
Just a resolution to set the public hearing date, right?
And I don't remember what all those resolutions were, but we would need a resolution to approve the.
Approve the ordinance.
I think I have the ordinance,
Yep.
but I don't think Kathy has done the other documents that go with it. So I assume that I probably do those.
Yeah.
Which is not a big deal. I mean, I just wanted to, I always want to make sure everybody, that the ball doesn't get dropped, you know what I mean?
It seems like that ordinance reads where we can consider waiving the second and third. I think it says it in the ordinance, or not the ordinance, in the resolution.
Yeah.
I can't remember all those details.
Yeah, and I've got, I've done several of them before, so I can put that together, and, I just wanted to make sure I've asked this question before, I get the same answer, I just always, my own biggest fear always is something doesn't get done, and somebody looks at me and says, well, Murphy, you were supposed to do that, and I'm like, I didn't know that.
That's what we talked.
So yeah, that sounds good, that's what I thought, so, that's good. I guess, that's it, whatever questions anybody has about any particular thing.
Any questions? No. Sydney's not saying anything. I think we're good.
Okay.
Thank you. Sheriff is not with us at the moment. Department head discussion. Any department heads have anything to say? Okay, hearing nothing. County engineer update.
Morning.
Good morning.
Waiting on paint on balsam and some rumble strips, otherwise the project's wrapped up. Not sure good. Yeah, ride's really nice. I don't know when they're gonna paint though. I figured they'd be in by now. They only had a couple days left of working days, but I think for the most part, it's substantially complete as far as the shoulders are done on it. So that project's done, or for the most part. The bridge is continuing on, they're still digging their hole for their spread footing on the east side. They're waiting to get their sheet pile driver in because they need to make a cofferdam because they're below the water elevation to get to the rock to pour the spread footing, and once they get done, they'll be working their way out of that. So we've got project closeouts to finish up. I've got annual report to do before the 15th. Got a lot on my plate right now, but got a call last week. I think it was maybe even on a Sunday night. That would have been. It was before our last meeting, or after our last meeting, I had a call from the local snowmobile club interested in a bridge. We have that bridge south of Stacyville on the Little Cedar, that old metal bridge that was sprung by an overloaded truck, and we had to close that road. The bridge is not going to get repaired. It serves the county no purpose as it sits. They're wondering if they could have it for their snowmobile club to put somewhere else. I would assume there would be no cost to us. I haven't had a lot of discussion with them yet because I don't know how the board feels about it. I'll talk to the structural engineers a little bit more to find out whether their purpose, what they want to use it for, the bridge could sustain that. They want to use it for a snowmobile crossing. And so I didn't know how you guys felt about it. I'm pretty sure that without talking to them, I would assume that they would accept all responsibility for removal and transport. It happens that there are club members that have the equipment to remove and move such a structure. So I think it's in their wheelhouse to be able to do that. They've done it before on another bridge. I don't know if they got one of our other old bridges that they did up in the Finnegan Alders trail up in there. They put a bridge up there. I don't remember if they got one of ours or if they found one somewhere else. But
The bridge that used to be by my place is on the bike trail over there by Riceville.
yep, there's one over there too. Yeah. So just kind of throwing it out there to see what your guys' thoughts are on whether we donate it, sell it for $1 or whatever. It's going to serve the county no purpose the way it sits now. And if somebody else can use it, and one thing I'll check is to see if it's on a national registry. I don't think it is, but we'll obviously want to have disclaimers in there stating, you know.
You're probably gonna want, yeah, you're gonna wanna be very clear about that, because if something bad happens, somebody gets hurt on that bridge sometime, people start looking for the deepest pocket in the government entity. If they can find a way in there, is where they're gonna go. One thing you'll wanna do when you take that, when that bridge is being taken out, or whoever, when they're taking it out or whoever, you're gonna wanna make sure that they've got insurance and that they're using somebody who knows what they're doing. Because in the process of removing that bridge, it's probably still county bridge,
It's in county right away.
no matter who's doing it. So I just make sure everybody's adequately insured, make sure the person that's taking it out knows what they're doing.
And I don't think, you know, that one, for that bridge, it sets pretty high up in the air over the Little Cedar. I think when they're gonna put it, it's probably gonna be a lot closer to the ground because it is a recreational trail. It's not like it can't be inundated by floodwaters, if it has to be, so.
You know where they're planning on going?
Yeah, I think they're planning to go up by the Lyle area, north of 218, from the curve, I think up by Mona, in that area, there's a crossing, they wanted to put it up at, so. Heck, you know, might be more visible to the public too, to see an old fashioned bridge, but I want to throw that out there so you guys have a little bit of time to think about it. I'll do some more digging around to find out what's going on. I think I know that there were the last bridge report had stated that there were some plates that were sprung from an overloaded vehicle that tweaked it enough now that the bridge just can't sustain the loads anymore without possibility of failure for vehicular traffic. I think snowmobiles are like, depending on what you're on, you're 900 pounds, you know, with a rider maybe 1,000. That might even be high, but it's a 70-foot span bridge, so throwing it out there, think about it. I'll do some more digging around. I'll talk to the club a little bit more. I'm not sure when they want to get through everything, but just a possibility to get something removed that we don't need and it can be used for somebody else, so.
Probably has more liabilities staying in place, because I know people at one time were sneaking across it.
They were, yep.
And I'd hate to see it go down if it's a somewhat higher one.
Yep.
So it'd be actually advantageous for us to get it out of there.
Well, even before the next flood would maybe wash things out and take it down, and then we're having to spend the money to take it out.
And if you ever put a bridge in there, that's out of your way.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
so-
We have to make sure that it's, not just signed, but we don't want
Yep.
anybody driving in the hole.
We'll have to permanently do a lot more than what we have out there
Yeah.
now, but yep, that's
You got a big
exactly.
pile of gravel on one side, so.
Yeah, we did that because people kept taking the signs down,
Oh,
but
yeah.
once that bridge is gone, we'll do some more permanent road closure stuff and some advanced warning, because that's what it needs to have.
Some of the locals were going. you know,
Yep,
you know, land on
yeah,
both
I know
sides.
there was,
Yeah, they're going over the rock pile and still going across it, so it's.
yeah, and that's,
It needs to be permanently.
that seems to have gone by the wayside in the last few years.
Just have to put a gate up or something, I suppose, huh?
Well, once the bridge is out, there won't be a gate, it'll be a permanent closure with barricades,
Oh.
permanent barricades in the road and everything else.
The high trust that was north of Stacyville, when we put that bridge in, a mile north of Stacyville and then back east, we just hauled incredible amounts of dirt on both sides, so that it was just,
Yeah.
there's just no way you go in the hole.
So, anyway, I thought I'd throw that out there and let you guys think about it, but I think it's a good idea if somebody else can remove it, use it someplace else.
I'll agree.
We are, if you guys drive by, we are taking our ash trees out today. It's kind of hot out. We kind of thought we'd stay local because it's gonna be warm, but all of our ash trees got the ash borer, they're dead, so we're gonna start yanking them out and then we'll get, last year they were okay. This year, it was amazing how fast they just didn't live, I guess. And so we're gonna work with conservation when they do a tree order next and get some other stuff coming in to plant for next year, hopefully, whenever they come in. But I've talked to Mike about it already. Need to get a little bit of shade back around the place, but, that's all I've got for you this morning, unless you guys wanna jump down to number 7.
Any questions for the engineer?
I got just one, it may be a reminder for me, but, going through the claims, Iowa Prison Industry, your sign, do you order yearly? Or?
We order probably more than yearly, probably, mostly whenever we need it, but it's probably a year, every year or a couple times a year, depending on what we have for inventory. Usually we get one big order, but as we see.
Do you try and keep every road and number, everything like one at the shop?
We have an inventory of we should have at least one of every typical road sign out there, but as we use them, we want to keep enough in stock so we're not waiting when the stop sign gets hit or another sign goes down.
I really dug through that this
Mhm.
time and just the 21,000 kind of caught my eye and
Oh, that's nothing.
but I see how many signs that you.
Well, and you also gotta include the street signs that are up too.
Yeah.
Those, we're trying to replace them as we can. I know they're critical for a lot of other people, for knowing where to go when they get faded. But our important ones are the no passing zone, stop sign, stop ahead. Those are the critical ones for us. And then as we fill in the time to get signs replaced, we start working on those too. But, every sign has got a cost to it. You go to an intersection, you got 4 signs at each intersection just for the street signs. You got one facing each direction, so.
And it wasn't, I know the dollar amount caught my eye, but when I started looking at the bill, it's like, holy crap, I know Mitchell County's.
To be honest, we should be spending probably more. Because I've got some other things that we're gonna be working on. I had the Iowa governor's safety people over here 2 weeks ago. We did some little walkarounds did some roads, looked at some roads and some curves and things like that probably could use some better signing, and so we'll be improving some of those, but all that costs money.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
So, yeah, and 20,000, that seems low. I mean, the way signs are anymore and the reflectivity requirements are getting more strict, but.
What is a typical stop sign cost?
Well, you had to ask.
Oh.
I wanna say the standard size is probably around, I could be wrong, Is it $80 for a sign?
I was just gonna guess $100, but
Then that's not including the post, you know, and we might even start looking at, on some of our curves with chevrons, we might buy, the strips are cheap, but they make a reflective strip that goes on the post for better visibility at night. We might start enhancing some of our curves with some of the other stuff. They're like, I don't know, they're a few dollars per reflective thing, but it really helps enhance things at night.
In a snowstorm.
So just some things that we talked about when the safety crew was here the other week. Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah, there are a lot of signs.
There are a lot of.
I just wondered too how you did your inventory, so that's,
The guys go through and when they see their certain get low, they inventory it, then they order what they think they need to have in stock. You probably see less signs that are county marker signs than they are more stop signs, no passing zones. I guess I didn't look at every item on the invoice, but they know what they need and so they need to have it.
sure. Thank you.
Now that you brought up the bills, there's one in there for NAX, for that lift, for the cupola.
Oh,
Are we gonna pay that, Rachel, or send that to Hinkle? All this,
I think we should send it to Hinkle, or the architect anyway. It's their deal.
Don't ask me, it was in the claims that you
Okay,
guys
yeah, I
approved.
mean, we should pay it, but I think we should send it to them for reimbursement. I mean, that was warranty work. That was,
yeah, do that. If we need to discuss it more, we'll actually put it on the agenda, we'll discuss it, but.
got that before,
oh, yeah.
claims.
Okay, we're in engineer discussion, anything more on the engineer in regards to his road department? Okay, so the next item, I put this on, Rich, I sent you, you got it, okay.
I scurried, but yep, I've got some things.
Okay, so these are, let me pass those. Those are a list of projects that, at least that I can remember, that need to be done in the county. Some of them may have been completed since I left the engineer's office, I'm not sure, I know some of them have not. And engineer does an excellent job at managing his budget and the amount of money that he gets to come into his budget to do projects. And some of those projects are local projects where it's the taxpayers of this county that are paying for them. We don't get any federal state assistance for them. And on the sheet, I put local if it was a local thing. So to me, some of these have been waiting for a long time and some of them are still out 3 years, even more. So we talked with Northland Securities. There is funding available to influx into your department to do some of these projects. And I'm glad Todd brought up signs because signs could also be a possibility where, you know, the funds that are in there are taxpayers' money and that fund is created to do things for the county. So rather than always working off your budget to do some of this stuff, that's a resource that we could use for those things. And then the money that you have in your budget could be used for equipment, other things in your department.
That can't be used, or that TIF can't use, right?
Yes.
So you bring up signs and, you know, like I told you before, a lot of times we're on the reactive side of replacing street signs. It's okay, we've got time, we know there's some faded ones. A lot of times it's, well, this one got knocked down, let's replace it and we'll put a new up. But I can remember a few years back, the board then put the burden on secondary roads to take care of the street signs. They were always from, I think, E911. And the board burdened secondary roads with all of those signs now. So now all of that's our response. We would put them up and we would replace them, but we'd always send the bill for the signs to the E911. Obviously, they don't, you know, that many signs. I think when they were first put up was there grant money for that, but they got funded for the initial installation, but then there's always the maintenance after that. So we've got burden for that. And I can't remember.
Anybody on there at cats?
What's for the yard? Right, I'm talking, I think part of that, and then I think part of the street sign, I was under the impression the street signs were also part of that.
I am not
Um, Am I wrong?
I'm sorry, I'm distracted here. Somebody's coming across on the virtual meeting and there's a lot of background, so would you please be able to mute your mic? Thank you. I'm sorry, Rich, go
I
ahead.
thought the street signs were part of that whole, project. Now, I know, yeah, I think that those
That's when
signs,
they first came out and we just took the project on ourselves to do it.
Mhm.
And I don't know, did that get passed over to you now?
I remember,
It was funded through 911 and then I think their budget was very low, so it was requested to the board of supervisors to
you know,
take that over, so.
and I think that includes the yard signs and the street marker signs, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Chris still does the yard signs, I thought.
Right, but I think part of the 911 thing was the yard signs are, they're not usually, in need of repair as frequently as the street signs, and then they're probably a smaller cost. But I remember the board then decided that it was gonna be up to secondary roads to maintain all the street signs, which we were always replacing and placing. It's just that we weren't always paying for the signs, I think, at one point. If you remember that correctly, I think that's how it went. So now we've got the extra burden of every intersection has 4 street signs and a post. So when you think about, do we put a program together to replace all of them? I know I've had calls in the past from emergency responders and saying, we can't even see these at night. Well, the reflectivity should be there. It's nice to see that stuff at night. It's very helpful to see that stuff at night. But when we look in secondary roads, yes, they're great. We need to have them. And the reflectivity is important. But, we focus on stop signs and things like that. Well, now you're talking a larger expense. Yeah, like part of that invoice probably had street signs in it. But that's only to keep some in inventory. We don't have, you got so many miles north and so many miles south, and you've got that many signs going east on a road and that many signs going south on a road. That's a lot of signs.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the board wanted to, they could fund a sign project where, hey, look, we're gonna just for 1 summer or 2 summers or how many summers it takes, one guy putting signs up but you want to kind of stage that stuff because it tends to look like signs wear out, about the same time. That there was always this thought that the south facing signs and the west facing signs wear out faster. And there was some research done that doesn't necessarily say that that's true. However, being in the northern hemisphere, we do have the sun more in the south than normal. So there's probably a little bit of truth to that, but they all wear out, whether they're on north or south. But so
The topic at hand is the item is.
Yep.
Is using, and it's TIF money. It's not that it's a big secret here. That's the fund that we have available to us to do things. And it's my contention that it would help your department immensely if we could start using some of that for some of these things.
So would you like me to run down some of these things? I kind of looked at it.
And I'm not saying that, man, we're gonna just do all of these things.
Right.
That's not my point.
So right now, the first one, you have the 2 bridges on Indigo. Now that I'm done with the grant, I'm gonna work more on designs. We were up there, we were gonna do some piling repair on the north one on that. But by the time we get done messing around with the north one, the last report that we got from the inspectors said, replace in 2 to 4 years. They didn't say that it needed to be posted or anything like that, but we need to kind of do something with it. And you go underneath there and yeah, there's some things that are leaning, but it's weird that the head wall's leaning out versus typically they lean in. And when you look at it leaning out, the abutments are still on the end of the bridge. It's like nothing is slid, so I don't know what's going on there. So we think we might be able to do some twin rail cars in that one on the north one because there's enough cover. The one south of there, I don't think we have enough height on there to put rail car pipe in, so we've got to think of other options, whether it be aluminum box culverts or a series of large arch pipe or precast box unit. All those things are going to cost us a little bit of money. So right now they're we were going to try to, I don't even know if we can get them done yet this year now. They might get pushed into next year for construction, but at least over the winter I can do a little bit more design on them.
When you say twin rail car, are you talking about flatbed rail car, or are you talking about?
Culvert pipe. Okay, all right. And since we have the two in the yard there, it might be just easy to get up there and do that. I was hoping to maybe get a little bit of design done. Maybe we can do it late this fall yet before winter sets in, at least get one of them done. So, the RCB between 360 and 370th, that one's in the program for fiscal '24. Right now, WHKS is working on trying to get out there to survey it. That bridge, or that box culvert, that structure there, when we had programmed it years ago, qualified for bridge funding until the feds changed how bridges qualify. Before it had certain rating requirements, now it's poor, fair, or good. And it has to be rated poor in the new analysis. Well, it doesn't rate poor anymore. It rated to qualify in the old way. In the new way, it doesn't. So it wasn't on the qualifying bridge list. I did some looking around, and because it was programmed prior to fiscal '25 budget, it can still be used. We can still use bridge money on it. So we're going to get that one surveyed and replaced. That one's getting replaced. It's not so much of a, if you look in that area of the county, there's a lot of posted bridges in that area, and we're trying to free up some roads that people can travel on. And it's also a pretty narrow structure with some, it's going down the valley and with some curves in it. So it will be a better option for us to get that replaced and have a little wider structure through there. So that one's in design. You've got the bridge on 385th near Primrose, weight restricted. Yeah, that's weight restricted, but it's weight restricted for special haul vehicles. So loaded dump trucks can only go over at 25 tons, which I think is the standard posting for a regular dump truck. So special haul vehicles, and then it's rated for 40 ton and 40 ton, which is the standard load posting for a legal size semi. Because it got posted for special haul at 25, the other ones have to be posted with it. So now, yes, it's posted, and the way the postings work is, 40 tons is the maximum on a semi, 25 tons is the maximum on your dump truck, that you've got to meet the bridge requirements on your axles.
How does that work if it's posted for 40 ton, but then in the fall, we're allowed to haul over agricultural
It's
grain?
a good question, because the bridges don't care what the governor says, but
Yeah.
legally, they can only drive over it with 40 tons because that's what it's posted at.
But they use that, they take the embargo off, so they use that for the reason they can go over and drive.
But the bridge doesn't care.
Yeah, exactly, I understand.
They're in violation, yeah.
So,
But then.
do we know that it happens? Yes. I mean, people are traveling because the farmers aren't weighing their trucks every time they're running. They gotta know where they're at. It takes 50 vehicles a day on average. So, when I look at some of these bridges, and you were talking about postings and whatnot, they're still legal loads. They're just not legal loads for the embargo, or when they lift the embargoes, and with the new oversize, or the overweight permit that the state's trying to push through too. So we're going to see a lot in the next year with our bridge inspections. There's a lot of things changing. We're going to spend a lot more money on bridge inspections now, because we have to analyze a lot more bridges and a lot more postings because of the new all systems permit that came out. So there's a lot of things changing. So, yep, that one's posted, but it's still, you can still take legal loads over it.
Okay.
The approaches on Primrose, yep, they're not the most comfortable. We've kind of talked about that. It was just kind of one of those things where, I don't know, that was done in 2009, right when I got here, when they got paid. I think something that we can look at. We do have advanced signage up there for people to know that there is a bump there. But I think overall that could be a good, quick project if the person.
Could we lay blacktop in there or something to smooth?
The reason we don't want to do that, because I think we took the asphalt off the bridge deck to gain more load capacity. Because you had asphalt on it. You could do that, but then I think we might end up posting that bridge, because the dead load will start affecting
more dead load in it.
Yeah. I don't know why it is the way it is, other than I think there was a vertical curve in there.
I think I do know what it was. And so the Manats did the project. It wasn't Manats' deal, but the surveying that was done on the whole project, Manats was not very happy with at all. And that's when we started putting it down the middle of the road as far as the amount we're gonna put on for our lift. They were very upset about this. Anyway, so at that survey point, you have the bridge, and rather than bring it in as a nice transition to come out, they just did this.
They did a straight line
They didn't do a
grade instead
transition
of a vertical
the
curve.
way they surveyed it. So you hit it and you're instantly going up. And we've lived with it because of that.
It seems like it's worse, but then it was years ago, I don't know, is the bridge sinking?
No, I don't think there's anything. I think the bridge is actually a pretty stout bridge yet, for the most part. I mean, it's gonna be, I think if we did something there with that, you're looking at, to get survey and stuff done on it, it could be a $50,000 repair. And then do you upgrade guardrail when you're doing it? I mean, that's another 30,000 per corner. So you're looking at over $100,000 for the repair, which, if it needs to be done, it needs to be done. I know it's not a comfortable curve. We do have advance warning. We do have advisory speed limits, I think, put up on the signs too that tell you to slow down because it is
35 or something.
I know I slow down, but I know a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that bridge. The next one you have is Ocean and 395th. It's a reinforced concrete box. That one's posted, and that one is posted at 22, 33, and 39. So all of those postings are under what the legal limit would be. However, it's 15 vehicles a day. It doesn't qualify for federal funding, so it would have to be a local project to replace that. And so that's one that I put a star by, is that'd be a local dollar project to replace. I don't remember, I didn't size that to know what was in it or what's existing there, but that one is gonna have to be a local funded project because it doesn't have the traffic count on it that it needs to be replaced. Cameo between 340th and 350th. That's a 17.5-foot span bridge, 5.5 feet high. It's 19 feet wide. If I remember right, Jim, is that
It's shifting every year.
the limestone back wall? Is that the north one? Is that the one that's shifting?
I think it is the north one. It just
Yeah.
constantly moves a little bit every year. And
So,
it's not
yeah,
a good thing.
and that one might just be that one will have to be, with the drainage there, it might be a series of smaller pipe to run through there to get it done in a quicker time frame. It could be a triple arch pipe site type scenario to get the drainage needed there. But when you start doing that, now we're beyond 20 feet. It adds another structure to our federal bridge inventory because it spans more than 20 feet after that. Which I guess is fine in a certain sense because then it helps with funding, but now it's another bridge that needs funding when it gets replaced. But you put a triple structure in there, you're looking at probably at least 50 years before you got to do anything with it, other than you got to mess with the siltation of a structure that has more than 2 pipe in it. So you have the Stillwater Bridge, which is weight restricted. Yep, that was a deck overlay and then paint, wasn't it, Jim?
Yep.
It's a narrow bridge, and it was one that we looked at when we did the raise grant, but we thought that the one south of McIntyre was better suited for that. Yes, it's posted, but it's also posted for special haul vehicles again. These all came up when that new requirement came out to start rating bridges for special haul vehicles. So that one's 26 tons, 40 and 40, which is a little bit higher than the one on Primrose there. So still takes legal loads. It's just that it's narrow and it can only take your special haul vehicle at 26 tons. So
Is that the one that,
it's on the curve.
a couple years ago, the west end got washed out?
No, different bridge.
That's a good.
This is the one on the curve, the one, yeah, I know which one you're talking about, West there. It's not the short one, it's the big one.
And then, is this on gravel?
Nope, it's on the highway, it's in.
Same highway, same road?
Yep,
Is that?
yep.
Okay, I know. what you're
Correct,
at.
yes, yep.
I
I think we got done with that one and we had new guardrail put up and then somebody came over with the farm equipment and got wedged in it. But, that's the one. So that's the explanation of that. It's posted for special haul vehicles. Otherwise, I don't believe that it's in any structural,
I don't think it's in bad shape.
it's in bad shape. It's just that if the funding were available, it would be great to widen it and replace it, put something new in. But then you got a twin cell reinforced concrete box on Rampart north of 320. I don't know that I've seen that one, but it's a twin 7.5 by 5.5. So,
Yeah, we've babysat that for quite a while. It's somewhat narrow.
okay,
And, it's fairly twin. Both cells are fairly, I'm just gonna guess it's an 8x8 or, I don't think it'd be a 10x10, but it's fairly, takes a lot of water when it takes water. And we
That-
have done.
the twin, the 8x8, that's the size.
It seems to me, well, I'm just trying to remember.
This one, when I looked it up, it was 7.5 by 5.5. Okay, there's some pretty big scale. I know there's another one. And I was looking around and I was getting confused on some of the other sizes. But that one, when I looked it up, it was 7.5 by 5.5, unless I looked at the wrong card.
No, that could be.
But it's a twin, so, and I have not put eyes on that one in a long time to know what the condition of that is. We've talked about T38 before, south of town. And again, that was a structure that we did. Actually, recently is over 20 years ago.
Well, we just, by God, it is.
That was 2002 and that was widened.
Yeah, it was old too.
And anyway, it's all.
That isn't too recent, is it?
Right. And so when our last inspection went through, the consultant told us to post the bridge, and that's not what we want to have happen. But again, it was special haul vehicles that are causing a lot of these postings, and special haul vehicles, I'll remind you, are the ones that aren't standard. They're the ones with multiple axles, and a lot of times it's the multiple axle dump trucks is what was being rated for. I think we're going to be seeing more multiple axle tractor trailers being rated now, and that's going to change a lot of things too. And again, it's the annual oversized permit or overweight, all systems overweight permit's going to change a lot of our bridges again. So I don't think the bridges they're all getting older. They're not failing this fast. It's just that we're asking these bridges to take more load than they were ever designed for. And then they put your age in consideration. And that's why we're seeing a lot more postings, is because we're demanding more out of these bridges that were never designed for these loads. So when you see those postings come up, I asked the consultant then, okay, if I don't want to post this bridge, but can we get the legal loads over it without posting it? And that's when they said, well, we can do that if we make it one truck at a time. Then they're okay with it. And the reason is, and I think I brought this up before, the reason is that bridge was widened in 2002, and on the bridge design, you've got your main girders that run the bridge, and they're a certain depth because they're taking load on both sides of the beam. The outside one is typically smaller because you're only taking load on half of that side of the beam. And to save costs, a lot of times you would design it and you'd have a smaller beam on the outside. So when they widened the bridge, they put a bigger beam on the outside, but that middle beam is still smaller. And so the loads transferred to that smaller beam, and that's what's restricting it. On top of the fact that that was an external beam at one time, there's a little bit more corrosion because of the bridge drainage and things like that. So we talked about that, I think it was back in 21 when I had WHKS come do a report. And we were talking about, several different options, and I'd have to go back to them and see if those options are still relevant. But back then we were looking at almost $700,000 to strengthen the two outside girders, not the two older outside girders, which would be the first beam on the inside. To strengthen those was a $700,000 cost, and you still got an old bridge when you're done. Thinking that it would probably be a 15 to 20 year fix then, it was costing anywhere from $34,500 to $46,000 a year in life cycle. So then we thought, well, what if you just replace the superstructure, leave the substructure, and now you're looking at almost, and these were 2021 costs, everything's gone up substantially since then, but you were looking then at 1.9 million just to put a new deck on the old substructure, and you're like, okay, so what's a new bridge cost? And it was only, around $400,000 more to just do the whole thing. So now you're looking at 2.3 million to replace the whole structure. Well, that, like I said, was 2021. You're gonna look at a lot more money to replace the whole structure now to get the legal loads over it. And I'm not saying that's not important, because that's a major highway out of Osage to 218. And when the DOT works on their highways, they use that a lot for the detour. But you're also talking a substantial amount of money. And I'm trying to remember, since that was 20 years old now, if you want to do, and I don't think it would qualify for the bridge money because it doesn't rate poor. It has to rate poor in order for us to use money, or we would have to come up with probably a special letter to the service bureaus, well, the DOT, to say, hey, look, we need to get this bridge updated. But I don't think they're going to allow us to use federal aid money to do the small amount of things we need to do to strengthen it, or even replace it, because it doesn't qualify. And $3 million, where are we going to get that? I can't save 4 years worth of money up plus borrow ahead 4 years.
We're already borrowed ahead.
Well, right, but if I'm only getting, what were the numbers? If it was $300,000 a year, that might be high. And the more we fix things, the lower our money gets, because they're looking at square footage of poor deck. So as we fix things and things don't come back as poor, our money shrinks. So let's just say we were at 250,000. We'll just use $300,000, and I can only stockpile 4 years. So that's 1.2 million. And then I can borrow ahead 4.5 million, or 4.5 years. You're talking 2.4 million, which is the old 2021 cost to replace the bridge. But then I can't do anything else either.
That's right. You're not doing stuff.
Now you're boxed out, and you're going to look at a lot of years to come back before they'll let you borrow ahead. You just can't come up with the money without spending local money on it, or finding a grant. But because the bridge isn't old enough and poor enough, it won't qualify for any grants. So that's what we're stuck with, unless we do it on our own with our own dime.
And I'm not advocating that, like I said, every one of those needs to be fixed. And
No, I'm just explaining what's wrong with them and how we gotta come up with the funding to do it.
But you explained it real well at the end, where in order to do a major project, we have to pay off what we've already borrowed ahead, then save up to pay for it, where we actually have funds that we can do some of these things. So that's my point.
Right. The Mitchell Bridge, weight restricted again, that one is probably the better of all three of those bigger bridges, is the fact that it's, again, posted for special haul vehicles, but it can take 35 tons for a standard dump truck, special haul vehicle, and then 40 and 40 again. They'll post it for the vehicle that supersedes any of the other weights. They'll look at some other things. So I think that one, you said recently done, I think we did some painting on that one, and we did a deck overlay on that. So
Did some strengthening on the webs of the beams too.
that is right. Yep. So that's the bridges, and that's just one of several that we have. And then some of the stuff that are some of our short span stuff that isn't even mentioned for that. So those are the explanations for those structures that are there for funding. But again, we've done work within the last 10 years on the Mitchell Bridge that I don't think we could use any funding, because we didn't use local money. I think we used some of our federal aid funding, and once we've used that, the fixes that we put on that bridge, in order to allow us to use that funding, those fixes need to at least last us, I think it was 10 years or 15 years. In order to use the federal aid funding, any of our repairs have to give that bridge extra life by 10 or 15 years. Well, we've done that. We can't go back and say, well, now we need more money because we didn't. And again, these all systems permits, these special haul vehicles are all causing these both bridges to be posted because of these extra loads we're putting on these bridges that were never designed for it. So,
Trucks need to obey the signs, so.
well, and along with the aging infrastructure of the bridges, yes, they're getting older, but like I said, they're not all deteriorating this fast. It's just that we've got to analyze them now for different load configurations that they were never designed for. The newer stuff we're putting in, we're trying to keep up with the HL 93 loads now and things like that, but who knows what happens in 10 years? Are they going to come up with another load configuration and another design standard that even the bridges we build now won't take the loads? Probably some of them don't now, but that's the explanation on the structure side of things, just from the list that Jim handed us to look at.
There's a bridge north of Statesville that's been closed for a number of years. What is it?
That's on Primrose also, that
Yeah.
dogwood, on the dog leg up there.
Yeah.
Takes very little traffic, would never qualify. It's been closed for more than 10 years.
It's an inconvenience for people living around there. There's hog buildings on one side, somebody lives on the other side. Sprayer drivers have to go around the mile.
Do the sprayer drivers go around a mile, or do they use the wind tower roads that are out there? Because they're spraying for those landowners anyway, that they would use those roads. To be honest, in the 10 years that 13 years I've been here, I've had one person ask about it in those 13 years.
You got two now, you got me, so.
Well, okay, but look at the traffic count on it. We can spend the money on it, but
Traffic count on it.
what's that?
How can there be a traffic count when the bridge is closed?
There would be a traffic count still. They will still traffic count it to whoever's going north, but if you want us to spend the money on it, we can replace it. There's one person who lives within less than a quarter mile of the road north and nobody in between. Then you've got the hog confinement just north of the other intersection, and yeah, the landowners in between, but they're using their own access roads from the wind towers to access their fields. Now, we could probably reduce the capacity of the bridge and try to create some sort of a low water crossing there to justify spending the money on it. But there's options there. I'm not saying we couldn't do it, but we've got to, again, look at where our needs are and where our traffic counts are.
I just thought it wasn't on the list, so I thought I'd bring it up.
No, it's not on the list, you're right, so.
That wasn't intentional either. I knew it was closed. I just forgot it. So, sorry. Okay, surfacing.
So, River Road, we had talked about, I started just programming things because I know that some of the stuff is programmed for hopefully we come up with the money to do some things in the next couple of years. You drive River Road, there are certain spots that are decent and some that are terrible. And usually the terrible spots are down where the flood waters come in. You get a lot of freeze and thaw down there. So I'm not quite sure what we have all down there for structure down in low-lying areas. We could probably do some cold in place recycle up on the high end where there's actually a road bed and everything else when you come down the hill. It's a lot of limestone underneath because that's what the whole bank is. And so when you look at it from that aspect, some of it could be cold in place recycle. Some of it might just have to be a straight asphalt overlay just to gain structure to it. To get some.
A lot of it's getting very open aggregated.
Yep, it's oxidizing, and some spots are actually, as we get more flooding, the edges toward the river are falling off. I mean, we could add another 6 to 8 inches just to get the right cross section back into the roadway section. So it's turning. It's not a farm to market route. It's a route that's used by a lot of people. It's a scenic route for us, but can only be paid with local dollars. So,
wouldn't there be anything out there that, since they put the Cedar River into
the water trail system,
yeah,
that might be something to look at.
I mean, even between us or the county and the conservation, maybe we could look into something like that.
I know that right now you'd have to look at some sort of a grant in order to do it because we couldn't use our farm to market money to pave anything on there or repair it.
Maybe there's a grant, because they got a grant for their water trail, maybe they can, I don't know.
And that's, maybe that's very good, to always be looking for grants and to be hoping that we get awarded. I'm all for that. But again, the point is that there's a lot of things that need to be done, and some of them can be explained, but I don't want to be a county where we say, we can't fix this stuff because we don't have the money, because we do have the money. That's my point. So that's the reason for this agenda item, is to emphasize that.
With a road like that, there's no guarantee it could be 100% funded.
Yeah.
I always probably want, I haven't heard of any federal grants that would help pave local roads. Otherwise, people would be putting grant money in all the grant applications and all the time to pave even railroads. But that's the story on that one. Widen and resurface 340th and March Avenue. Those are also local roads. They're deteriorating. They've got a lot of truck traffic on those as well. I don't have really a thought yet on, other than some sort of a cold in place recycle or a full depth reclamation. I can't remember what, I thought I had them come and core some of those roads, but I don't remember what the cores were on those. I don't think there's a lot of structure underneath those.
On March, the north part was asphalt treated base with, I think, like a 2.5 surface, but then it was thinner after you got past the sand pit.
Okay, yep.
Because they figured there wasn't gonna be a lot of truck traffic going from the sand pit to Orchard, which has not held true. It gets used as much that way as it does going north.
And then also, .380th between Balsam and Foothill, that was something I had put in the project or in the program a few years back, and pulled it because we needed our farm to market money for other roads that took more traffic. I think we pulled it out when we looked at doing Kirkwood, I believe. I don't recall. That would have been farm to market. I think it was Kirkwood. We were saving up for doing that, so we pulled that one out of the program. But looking at the most recent letting we've had in Worth County, and I guess Mitchell County too, on a cold in place recycle, looking at about $270,000 per mile. Is that a 4 mile stretch? So I just throw out, it's $1 million. And that could be farm to market, but again, our farm to market accounts spoken for with other projects as well that are already in the 5-year program that probably need more updating. And again, if we get the grant, the road grant for Stacyville, we were talking about supplementing our grant money with our farm to market funds. So we're holding back and trying to restrict how much we spend on other farm to market routes until we know whether that grant goes through or not. But again, the farm to market balance isn't in that great a shape if we start adding these other projects. I think I should look again. I don't remember if I have that road in the 5-year plan.
The 380th?
Yeah.
No.
That's where there's a sign at the corner, road to nowhere.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
But we do plan on, the contractors coming back to Worth County to pave over there, and then I asked them to look at that, the patch, the culvert that we put in there. So hopefully before winter we'll have that buttoned up. But yeah, that's the road that we're talking about.
That one's very open aggregated also.
Open aggregated and a lot of deep thermal cracking, makes it not a very comfortable ride.
What's in your farm to market account currently, do you know?
I
Don't know.
I don't think I have that information with me. But I know I think maybe I've given you guys a summary back when we did the annual or the budget on trying to balance everything out and trying to know where we're at. But we're trying to stay above the red line for borrowed ahead. So that gives us possibly, I think it was one project per year to stay above the red line, but we've got some bigger projects that are gonna take us right down to where the red is. So it's a matter of trying to balance the dollars, and if we want to do something like that, we push another one back, or we don't, do it with timing. March and 370, that's the truck route around Osage here. That is programmed for next year. The thought process was a crack and seat with a 3-inch overlay of asphalt.
But what does crack and seat mean?
Where we come back, we come through with a roller that, or either a roller, I think it's more of a square roller. So it fractures all the concrete and creates cracks everywhere so that the load transfers don't necessarily reflect through to the asphalt. You're trying to relieve all the stresses of the concrete.
And
Then you-
voids and whatever.
Pardon?
And voids, I suppose, and whatever there is.
Yeah, sometimes I've been on projects where you patch the road with brand new concrete and then you come back later and you break it. Just so you've got a good profile and a good cross section to build on. One option is to crack and seat and then do an asphalt overlay. Again, can always plan on, that takes a lot of traffic. In 15 years, you're gonna be oxidized. You might have a lot of reflective cracking just because it's not a perfect science. We could do a concrete unbonded overlay, gonna cost a little bit more money, probably gonna last 2 to 3 times as much as that first initial cost of the asphalt. But again, looking at the farm to market balances and where they're at, it's programmed right now for a smaller project cost, just to kind of keep projects moving. There are plenty of options to do other things. But when I look at where the budget's at, what can we spend the money on, and what kind of a fix can I provide that still fits within the constraints of the budget?
So if you did a concrete overlay, would you still break it, or would you just?
That really hasn't been done. Usually you just put an inner layer over it. What we've done in the past is we put a fabric inner over it just so the concrete doesn't bond to the concrete below it. You run a risk of getting reflective cracking, but what I do with the design is I add fiber to it, so if it does crack, it holds the cracks tighter and gives it a little bit more durability. Once they crack, depending on the age of the crack, and if they start getting wider, then we'll come back and route and seal the cracks. But costs a little bit more money. We're talking probably twice the cost of the asphalt, but we're gonna probably get at least twice the age out of it, twice the life out of it than normal. We could change it. There's still time to change it. I mean, we could look at it and say, well, we want to do that. But again, looking at the farm to market account and balance and everything else, that's kind of what we can afford to do with all the other projects we've got in the queue.
If you go concrete overlay, what's the chances of it blowing up?
It's
concrete.
totally different design, totally different than that other stuff.
That other stuff was a thin lift where everything
Thin lift.
now is like 6 inches with fiber in it, and it's.
And sealed joints and all kinds of other things. Lot different than before. I mean, pretty much the same design on T38, south of town. Or south of St. Ansgar. 105.
Yeah, I just wonder.
Yep. We're not doing that design anymore.
Yeah, I know, I just wondered
Yep.
what that causes, the heat.
And when you get to certain temperatures, I don't care what kind of road you have,
Yeah, I know.
you can't predict for 105 degrees and humid.
Find out in a day or two.
Right, so, and then Orchard Road, what you saw in the program was kind of the north section. There was a stretch in there, I think did I put a half a mile in there? It was where it's got the quarter point cracking, and what you can see is, you can probably see when that was an old gravel road, where the old road bed was, and then when you added and widened it over the years, the widened section was never compacted like the old road, and get that quarter point crack, and then it's kind of settled a little bit. Thought of just kind of giving a level course on the lowered section and putting an asphalt, half a mile asphalt patch over it, just to gain us some time and some life. And then in future years, as a lot more of the road needs more attention, in 15, maybe 20 years, I don't know what it's gonna take, then do a concrete overlay over everything, and then you've got a nice structure again. But again, based on farm to market budgets and their funding, this was an opportunity to just do something quick, simple, and keep the roads safe, because it does have a substantial, not a substantial, it's got a drop off from the quarter point, and usually the quarter point's not where you're driving your car, but it's down the middle, and it needs to be improved. So that's what you see in that program, is to fitting a construction method into what we have for budget constraints. Widen resurface March west of Stacyville. That one, I'm trying to remember, I don't think I have that. I think it's in the 5-year, but it's, was it that one or was it, I think it might have been the Quarry Road instead.
Yeah, it's in, the Quarry Road is. This is the one, I know Stacyville with their new industrial park has wanted something done to that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
that
That's,
stuff.
I'm thinking of the wrong road, Jim. It says March and I was thinking of
It's that little
460,
stuff
yeah.
that sits high. and
That one,
narrow and-
that one, correct. And that one, that's a shared road between the city and the county. It's narrow, it's high. I mean, it's gonna need substantial work in order to create, and I think that maybe the ultimate goal for the city is hopefully that becomes a truck route, which makes a lot of sense when you've got the elevator over there. But you're looking at a substantial amount of money to rebuild that road. When we were talking about rebuilding Kirkwood, it was $1 million a month. So it's gonna be an expensive endeavor. And I wouldn't want to put anything but an 8-inch concrete section through there if it's gonna take that kind of traffic.
And that's gonna be local money.
And that's gotta be local money because it's not a farm to market route either. Red Ball, 395th, Glass, 410th.
So there's
Somebody
just,
can explain that one a little bit.
so there's just been talk in regards to, surfacing the stretch from Mitchell to, on Red Ball Road, north of Mitchell, jog west, go by the Sportsman's, go by the sand pit, go by the other business that's there. There's a subdivision there, and then when it gets north, I don't know if the thought is where you just shoot over left to Foothill or continue on the Red Ball. But anyway, there's talk out there that people would like that done. And I guess when I think about it, if that was paved, there's some nice stretch there. There might be some more housing that did get built on the stretch. So I just put it down there.
An expensive endeavor, for sure. I've been approached by it too.
Yeah.
And that's, as the county engineer, I'd say, how could we afford to? But once it's paid for, that's one thing, but now you're maintaining it. The next 30 years or 50 years or however long, whatever payment you put down there, what are you gonna use for funding to maintain it when it doesn't seem like the tax increases are coming as much as the cost increases of materials and maintenance, so.
Well, and that's why I put the next one down as far as the road rock, and the signs would also be considered of it, so that, if we were using the TIF funding for the road rock, we could use it for many years. So use it for the rock run and use it for all the regrades that you do. And then, all that money right now is coming out of RUTF or the road use tax fund or the transfers of the property taxes go. So rather than road use tax and property transfers, TIF would fund that, and then you would use that money for a truck, for the maintenance of stuff.
Or for construction.
Yeah, so it would be a trade.
But I don't agree with the rock run putting on TIF,
Okay,
because they did that back in what, 2014 or 15? Life expectancy of rock is what, 3 to 4 years?
If you're lucky.
That loan was 20 years. So.
But if you play I agree with you, but if you play the shell game, what we were able to buy is equipment that's gonna last longer than that. It's just, but you're right, I mean, it did.
But you got 4 years, maybe 4 years, because every road's on a rotation,
Yep.
3 to 4 years of rock. So you're paying for that rock for 20 years, when it's gone 4 years.
No, I agree.
16 years, you're paying for road rock.
I thought that at that time too, and I've thought of it a little bit differently now, because we have a lot of those bonds paid off. And when she was here, she said, because of our situation, we're looking more of like 3-year loans as far as anything that we would do. We wouldn't have those 20-year loans. And I totally flipped my thought on the road rock thing I did. because you can do something else in his department rather than the property tax money from people paying for the rock. It's the turbine money is the property tax money, but it's specified for a certain purpose. And rather than the transfers and the road use tax, you can use it for other things in your department.
Whatever money you're spending on it, it's only gonna last, the rock's not gonna last longer, no matter what you spend it on. But what happened then, and I understand exactly what you're saying, but when I look at it and say, we spent $1 million on rock in 1 year, and we were able to purchase, I don't know, maybe it was 3 motor graders, and those 3 motor graders are gonna last 15 years or more. So the investment was, look, we can't use TIF to buy equipment, but we can buy rock, and then we can use that money to buy our equipment that's gonna last longer than what we spent the TIF money for. It freed up something that we did gain by being able to purchase more equipment. It's just that we couldn't technically use TIF to buy the equipment, so it's a shell game, but exactly, why would you spend money on something that doesn't last more than 3 years? But it doesn't matter, if it's tax dollars, we're still getting tax dollars and it's still being spent and it's only still lasting 3 years. But you're not taking out a loan for it and paying interest. So I completely understand what you're
I
saying.
just don't want something that did for 16 years, you're paying for it.
Yeah. But that's looking at it on the side of, if we don't do anything with the money that we're freeing up that has a longer value. If we were gonna use TIF dollars to pay for rock, and then use what we're saving in TIF dollars to buy more rock, say we wanted to double our rock run in a year and we're gonna spend $2 million, we borrow $1 million, use $1 million there, that's probably not a good use of the money, because that borrowed money that's in bearing interest is only gonna last 3 years, and it only freed us up to spend another $1 million on rock that's gonna last 3 years. But if you spend the $1 million on rock here and we can spend $1 million on equipment that's gonna last longer than the loan payment ever will, then that's probably a better investment. But that's not my decision to make, and I completely understand what you're saying, because that's kind of how I was thinking of it too when we first started. But we can't use that specific pot of money to buy the equipment that's gonna really balance out the loan terms and the payments. So,
Okay.
just a lot of food for thought out in front of you. And we'll be looking at, as much as I hate to think about it, looking at budgets again here real soon.
Does the board want to use that fund to do some things? Look at using it?
I'd be open to looking at it.
I will tell you that no matter what we do, there will be a probability that I'd have to bring a consultant in to do some things, because I just cannot push that much work out. Or however long we spread it out, that's the other thing. Right now, I should be doing a lot of design work for next year that I haven't been able to start because I've been working on other projects and grants and things like that. It's really slowing me down. So there's always that possibility it's gonna cost a little bit more with getting help, but at the same time, we're gonna get more work done too.
Any other comments from the board?
I know you've told me, but when does that grant, when do you find out on that?
I don't think we're gonna know for a good 3 months probably.
Okay.
What did we just find out? We got the rural, we submitted the rural grant in, was it January, I think it was, and we didn't find out about it until, was it July? So it could even be 6 months. We won't know before the next budget, but
So it might be 6 months from now.
it could be, We did tweak,
That works out.
Yeah, we did.
Decide on a lot of things.
we did tweak some things in the schedule, and based on, so I think we initially had planned for it to be fiscal 26. And because of the way the grant awards and the grant, all the paperwork and stuff that goes in there, we pushed the project to fiscal 27 as a construction, because we weren't sure whether we would, I think what they were trying to avoid was, look, you've got a pretty aggressive schedule here for fiscal 26. What if you don't hear that you get the grant until a month before your plans are due? You don't know, and then pretty soon you're like, well, we can't do this. So we gave ourselves some leeway, and once we know what's happening, then we'll be able to know. But
They
that's,
still wanted to know too.
you know, that gives them a little bit more time too. I mean, it's not like, you know,
I wanna kind of keep moving here too, because some of that we can discuss with your update and stuff. We're getting kind of long. I just want to wrap it up. How does the board feel in regards to spending some TIF money on some of the road department needs? Not all of this, but we can start doing something. I thought you would be in approval of that. Any other comments?
Well, I think we should wait and see how this grant's gonna work out, because we're gonna need money for that too. Right?
Well, that's not exactly the question. The question is,
Well-
are you open to using TIF money for road improvement projects? That's the question.
That's a last resort, sure, then. Let's see what he brings forward first.
Yeah, if there's federal money or whatever available for the bridges, I think we should use local when we can use somebody else's.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Discussion and possible action on the zoning commission recommendations. So the zoning commission met last night. I'll read Amanda's thing regarding it. Mitchell County Planning and Zoning Commission, on behalf of the Mitchell County Planning and Zoning Commission, I, Amanda Bear, would like to relay that on the evening of August 21st, 2023, the commission recommended unanimously that the newest amendment to the Mitchell County Urban Renewal Plan be approved by the Board of Supervisors, seen as the amendment properly adheres to the Mitchell County Land Use and Comprehensive Plan. The commission would like to thank you for taking their recommendation into consideration, dated August 21st, 2023, and signed by Amanda. So the commission recommended that they approve of the plan, of what's being done. So it's up to us to decide if we want to accept their recommendation, or this has to do with the A to Z expansion in that parcel of land that's just on the south side of Osage in the rural area. And we've been discussing that and approving things, so.
Make a motion to approve the zoning commission recommendation.
Erickson makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Roll call, Jim,
Aye.
Sydney,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Todd.
Aye. Discussion and possible, motion carries. Discussion and possible action, HVAC pay request, application number 15. So we got another application, and it's in the amount of $36,057.72. Pretty much is for materials that have been used, labor, the electrician was in doing things, and another $10,000 for insulation.
I'll move to make a motion to pay that HVAC request 15.
Brian makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Hendrickson seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call, Mark.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Sydney,
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Motion carried. Discussion and possible action on HVAC's change order number 5. So what this is in the office, when you first come into the safety center, there's a 4x4 lighting that's in there, and there's not enough room to put the ceiling cassette in there with that. So they're proposing to upgrade the lighting. It would be LED lights. It would be 2x2s, I believe. Yeah, 2x2 lightings, 4 2x2 lighting structures in there, and then that's going to allow room for that ceiling cassettes. And the lighting structures have I guess I'll just call it a dome over the top of the lights so that it refracts the light better. It's actually an upgrade to the lighting that's there. Any questions about it?
I think that's something they should have, when they're looking at the job, if there's a light there and they put a ceiling cassette, they should have picked up on that, you know?
They may have missed it.
Okay. Well, you know, they missed it, I guess, you know.
Well, if it would have been put in the plan originally, we would have paid for it then. It's not that it's a free thing. So if they missed it, we got to pay for it one way or another, whether it was originally found or they missed it. It's not that change orders are, it's not that they built something and they built it wrong and they tore it out and then they rebuilt it and then they charged us for all of it. That's not how change orders work.
Well, yeah, but if they bid a job, they're gonna do this for this much money, and now they got a little obstacle like that. I mean, it's just hard to do business, I think, but
Okay.
that's my opinion. You know?
Okay.
I mean, bid is a bid, and this ain't that much money to where.
Okay.
They.
So the amount is for $838 to change order, and the change order is CAR-5. I'll accept the motion to approve change order request CAR-5.
I'll move to make that motion.
Brian makes a motion, I'll second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Roll call, Todd.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Mike.
No,
Mark.
No,
Motion carries. Okay. Discussion and possible action on replacement of courthouse ducted Mitsubishi air handler. And this is not part of the HVAC project. This is an air handler that's in the second story that has issues. The amount is for $7,190. It's to furnish material and the labor. So I'll accept the motion for that.
I'll make a motion to accept that, to replace that air handler.
Okay, Mayor makes a motion. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none?
Roll call, Sydney.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Discussion of possible action on project placed on hold. So we had previously approved a project, and the ISAC IT people at that time wanted us to put it on hold until they did their assessment. Through their assessment, they determined that there was no problem to proceed with that. And going through these, the dollar amounts that we approved at that time, it's the same dollar amounts, so nothing has changed in regards to funding it. I guess I'm just looking for a motion to say to proceed, so.
so if we had a motion approved before, why do we need to do it again?
We may not possibly need to. I just wanted to bring it before the board to see if you guys wanted to move forward with it, so.
I thought we moved forward beginning and then somebody put it on hold.
Yeah, I put it on hold because of that, explain that.
I Still trying to figure out how somebody can put it on hold without conferring with their other board members.
Well, I sent you a detailed email in regards to that, and you have not contacted me since that email, so I thought maybe you understood the email. But in the email, it explained that when we approved this project, ISAC, within a week or two after that, wanted to put it on hold. No, it was within the week because I didn't have time to put it on an agenda for a board meeting. So I personally put it on hold due to their recommendation. I didn't want materials if it's something that they felt we shouldn't have, I didn't want materials being ordered. I didn't want a contractor starting the job and then have to back out of the situation. So I guess I'm very sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I would have done the same thing, except this again if I had to, because it was the right thing to do. I'm sorry that you were not conferred about it, but I explained this in an email to you, and again, you have not explained it. You have not come back with me since I sent you that email. So consensus of the board to move forward with the project?
I'm in favor of moving forward.
Mark?
I guess, sure.
Yeah, yeah, you approved it once, so,
Okay. Sydney?
Yes.
Okay. We'll move forward with that. Items of note, meetings attended. Grand Mitchell Soil and Water Conservation District meeting. They had, I believe it was 28 applications in regards to Rock Creek and Water Quality Initiative and REAP applications. And those have to do with cover crops and windbreaks. So there's quite a few people that take part in that. And then they had other business that they did. They had a NICOG meeting, executive meeting, trying to boost their ridership in their transit busing. Full sheet of ideas to try to make that happen. And they have plenty of riders, but sometimes they don't have enough buses to get to the locations in a timely manner. So because of that, one of the ideas is they're considering a software program that would actually organize dispatching of the buses. And they're probably gonna go that route. It'll be a big improvement, make things a lot more efficient. And then there's just general business in regards to the finances, and I think that pretty much covers that. So that's all I had.
well, I have a central, I guess, Sydney's turn.
Sydney, did you have anything? Any meetings?
No, I did not have any meetings.
Okay.
I had a Central Algae Juvenile Detention Center meeting in Eldora. They went over the new building, how it's working out so well. Holds 20, they have 15 in there right now, so they haven't had to call the sheriff's department since they've been using it. They've had more fights, which they'd had 3, 4 a day, so it's working out well to get more isolation or more room, so, and then they're discussing and updating the employee handbook, so we had discussion on that. We're gonna finish that next meeting, I guess. Hasn't been done for quite a few years, so. Otherwise, it's just financial reports and routine stuff, so that's all I had.
I had an Iowa workforce development meeting, CEOs are getting together, that state's not playing very fairly with them, and they're changing office hours, and so they're gonna all get together and send letters to the governor.
I had a FMC DCAT meeting. We did a year-end, 2023 year-end. We had a couple carryovers on several contracts, so we approved that, and then we approved moving it into the year 2024. A line item, we're not sure on the contract that we're gonna give it to yet, but we'll do that next month. And then I had a short fair board meeting, and I see some are here, so I'll just let them talk and public comment.
Manure management plan.
One for Run Day, number 4 Finisher Farm, 4665 Addison Avenue, Graceville.
Public comments.
I have just some numbers to kind of go over real brief from our county fair this last couple weeks ago now. And I really want to thank you for all your support you've given us this year and all years past. Do I just leave it here?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
great. Thank you.
So this is a list of all of our comparison from last year, we talked earlier in our January meeting how we're gonna be looking for, we're gonna be writing grants, looking to build the new building for the hog, sheep, goat, rabbit, chicken, barn. We have the broken, the rafters are broke, the poles are broke. So I have been applying for grants, but what I'm here for today is I need letters of support from different committees. And I was hoping to get a letter of support for you guys to continue on with our endeavors to apply for grants for our county fair board to try to get our new building constructed. So that is primarily what I'm here for today. I have number comparisons. So last year we had 162 exhibitors. This year we had 208 exhibitors. Last year we had 307 for numbers of livestock. This year we had 502. There's no way to calculate the number of people on our grounds because thanks to you guys years ago, we got rid of the paid gates because of the support of the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors. So we have no paid gates, we have no paid parking, so all that stuff is free. So if you were at the fairgrounds, you noticed that there was an atrocious number of people there this year, and we would like to continue on with that, but I can't give you hard fact numbers on how many people were at our fair. I can just go by what my exhibitors are, because I have those set numbers. And even the grandstands, I don't have exact numbers, because we don't give tickets away at the back gate, so I don't have exact numbers that are in the grandstand events. But what I'm predominantly here for today is asking for a letter of support, so we can have, I can submit it with my grants. There is one that is due on August 31st, and so I would like, if I could get a letter of approval and support, I can give whoever the contact what they all need in the letters, because there's a couple different grants that they need the letters of support from the mayor and different boards, county or city council and stuff like that, and I would like a letter from the board of supervisors as well.
Not individual members, but the board as a
Yes,
whole.
yes,
Okay.
please,
Yeah,
if that is possible.
you bet. That'll work.
Okay,
So we're looking for that, and also again to say thank you. We could not have done what we did without your help. And
Yeah.
hopefully you all got a chance to go to the fair. I have not seen the fairgrounds that well attended. It was amazing to see the midway as full as it was, even during the grandstand events. So, and you can see by the numbers here, virtually every one of our numbers is up. All the vendors had an exceptional year. So again, thank you guys very much.
And thank you guys for doing such a.
They said it's probably been 40+ years since there's been that many people at the fairgrounds.
I think
and
that,
that many livestock too.
Right,
Because the
yeah.
barns have never been, have never been full in the past, but if we could be on the agenda maybe for next week as well, please. And we can discuss things at more length, but today was just,
That would be
I want
good.
to get the letter of support from you.
So if you want the letter of support, do you want the chair to do it? Do one of you guys want to do the letter of support, or what would you like to do?
First of all, I wasn't real sure how this, doing this through the public comments. That's why I kind of asked them to come next week. Can we give them an approval today? If we want, we'll go around and each supervisor, or do we need to have an action item?
So what I was just wondering is if I put, with some of your guidance, if I put together a letter of support and then the board could look at it next week
sign up.
and then we could sign it next week and you would be here, it'd be an agenda item.
That's what I'm on.
Does that work?
Yep.
Do that?
Yes,
It has to be submitted by the 31st.
at 11:59 PM.
And I think we're good, right? That's, what is
Yep,
next
yep,
week?
we have,
29th,
yep,
is that
yep,
right?
correct.
If that's enough time to get it
Yep,
where it needs to
yep,
go.
it's all electronic.
Oh,
It's electronic
okay.
submission, so I just have to download all the,
Okay.
download all the stuff.
It's a big grant through the state that has to be done first, and we're working on a lot of others, but they don't have this kind of a deadline that we really want to get this. It's a $50,000 grant.
And every penny's gonna count.
Does that work for the board to do it
Yes.
that way?
Yes.
Can
I
you,
would greatly appreciate that.
can you put your phone number down and
Sure.
I will get a hold of you?
Yep.
And you can give me some ideas as far as terminology.
You know, you gotta take recognition too for all the good, hard work you guys do. It's,
Thank you.
Oh, it takes a lot of people. We're not just us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of help.
Thank you.
It's so much fun to go to the fair, and you have people coming to you wanting to volunteer. It's just amazing how much easier it makes our job with all the volunteers that we get. And Todd's been wonderful. He helps out here and there.
Maybe give me a.
Just makes life easier the more people you have.
It's gotta be.
Kind of fun to go to the fairground to after the fair, so I've been driving through there every morning since the fair, and that place is like it never happened. So there's been a lot of help cleaning it up after the fact, so hopefully there's not a nuisance to the
That'll work.
city or that'll work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
we
you,
will talk
guys.
more next week. They're on the agenda, correct, Rachel?
Is it good to put them right after the public hearings before the Senate carbon?
Yes, that would be best. That would be best.
Sounds good.
Thank
So
you.
what time are we kind of looking at, you think? Is all I'm gonna
Probably
ask.
about 9,
Yeah.
8:50 to 9.
I mean,
There's,
Or do you wanna let us know later, or?
well, it'll be right after the public hearing at 8:45, which is for the urban renewal plan amendment.
There's
There's
two
two of
public
them.
hearings at that time.
I think they should be quick.
Just curious, I mean,
I'd say by 8:50 to 9 o'clock.
okay, that's fine, just so we have some kind of an idea, all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay,
That'd be good times.
that's fine.
Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you guys very much.
For your support again.
Okay. I think we are done with the meeting, so I will adjourn the meeting.